Hi, welcome. You're at Grandma Roseanne's kitchen. We're going to make an amazing meal today because 90% of the country right now is buried in snow. Could there be anything better than the aroma of an amazing beef stew just wafting through your house while this thing is cooking in a slow cooker? Now, I know you can do them in the oven. I've done hundreds of them in the oven. I know you can do it in an Instant Pot. Not my favorite, but the slow cooker is going to give you that savory, just amazing taste to it. But I'm going to do it a little bit differently than you might have seen it before. So just hang with me. Now I'm using a relatively small roast here, and I'm using, it is a beef round eye round roast. Bought it at Costco. Okay. And I'm just doing a 2-pound roast because it's just cameraman and I, so I don't want a huge roast. But please feel free to do whatever you need to do to increase the amount that you're going to use for your family. Now, what I'm going to do is this beautiful piece of meat. It's just gorgeous. And I'm going to cut it into that's about 3/4 of an inch. I'm going to cut it in that kind of slices, just about there. And what I did is there was a big layer of fat along the side. I really didn't want to cook that fat, so I just cut that whole layer right off. Now, fat is flavor, and I do understand that, but we are going to have so much flavor with what we're going to do with this meat that you're not going to need that extra layer of fat in there. And do we really need those extra calories? I don't think so. All righty. Now that I have done it in sections like this, now I'm going to cut it into cubes. I want them to be relatively the same size because we are going to be browning them. So just like this. Okay, just like that. You see that? That's all you're looking for. So I have all of our meat cubed. Now I'm just going to put it someplace where I can spread it out a little bit. So I've just got a nice large platter here that I can use. Let me get this out of the way. And now we're going to do our seasoning. We want salt. I'll put measurements down below for you, okay? Because I'm pretty sure that would have been like 2 teaspoons of salt. We want like maybe 1 teaspoon of pepper. The garlic, onion powder and garlic powder, I will measure those for you. And I think that they really enhance flavor, you guys, so don't skip it. And if you don't have these two on hand, really consider getting them because you will use them on so many dishes. It won't be something that you're going to have in your pantry that you're never going to use. And I've got about a teaspoon, about a half a teaspoon of onion powder, and I will do about a half a teaspoon of garlic powder. Now we're just going to mix it because we want everything to be incorporated here. We want every piece of meat to have all of those delicious seasonings in them. Just give it a little massage. Like who in the world doesn't like a little massage? All right. Now I'm fairly certain that all of the meat has been coated with the seasoning. So now I'm going to put in some flour. I've got a whole cup of flour here. I'm not using the whole cup. On this portion, I'm probably using maybe a 1/4 of a cup. And you want to mix that. You want all of these to be coated. Now what I have done over here on my skillet is I have got the skillet on a medium-high. We're going to brown this meat. So a medium-high and it's going to have to go in batches. You don't want to crowd the meat simply because you're not going to get that good fond on there. And the fond is just the crusty part of it, which is where all of your flavor lies. So let's move over to the stove. There. Yep, it's sizzling away. And that's about all I want in there at this time. Now, I'm probably going to have to do this in 3 batches, but don't sacrifice flavor for time. Don't do that. This is a really important step in it. So when I get this all brown, I'll show you what it looks like, and then we'll go to the next step. So look, this is what we're looking for. Just nice and crusty. We're not looking to cook the meat right now. We don't want to cook the meat. All we want to do is just get that crust on it, because that crust is what's going to give us all of our flavor. Let me get these out. You're just going to get them out, set them aside. And what we're looking for again, come here, let me show you. You see all this crustiness on the bottom? That's where your flavor is going to come from. So we want to be sure we're able to get that crust on the bottom. Now I will put in the next batch. Works better if you don't burn yourself. And once again, have plenty of space in between them. If you have them too close together, what happens is they end up steaming, and that's not what you want, and you're not going to get that fond. Over here, and these are the vegetables that we're going to be using. I've got celery, which I just cut into rather small sections. I have these baby carrots, which I love, and I'm not going to cut those anymore. And then these are new potatoes. They're just the small little potatoes. I'm just going to leave them whole and put them in. I think they'll be a really nice addition. Now the other thing we need, you'll have to come with me outside. All right, so I want you to take a look right outside my garden. This is all the herbs, and if you don't have a lot of patio space, you don't have to have humongous containers. You can have smaller containers. But when you're able to walk out and pick your own parsley, or your spring onions, or your dill, or you come over here for your cilantro, carrots are growing, all of it is growing. Now, and we're in the dead of winter right now, but it's still doing fantastic. So we're just gonna cut a few sprigs of thyme, and this is going to go into our beef stew. Okay, we can go back. Our beef stew. Okay, we can go back. Well, I have got everything done now. I am down to the very last batch, and I will tell you, this is where I will say, oh, it's enough. I don't need to brown it all the way through, because at this point I get impatient, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to let it brown all the way through so it looks as luscious as this over here. What I have done while you were patiently watching me brown this, I went ahead and I sliced 1 large onion. And I got that ready because that's going to be our next ingredient going in. For heaven's sake, do not wash out the pan. This is where your flavor is. All right. And I just did a coarse chop on the onion. Just a coarse chop. And I'm going to add just a little bit of oil to this because it's just a little bit dry. So you kind of always take a look too. We're deglazing the pan as we're doing this, scraping up all that beautiful stuff on the bottom. And these will cook down, as they won't be as huge as they are right now. They will cook down. But I like to see the vegetables that are in there. I really like to see them as whole vegetables, and I like that with the onions too. But you know, when you cook the onions, they just get really, really sweet. These are looking luscious. To my onions, I'm going to add about a tablespoon of garlic that is crushed. If you actually wanted to put whole garlic cloves in here, you could do that, because just like the onions, they're going to become very, very sweet. Now then, some tomato paste, just about probably a tablespoon. That's going to give it nice flavor. It's going to give it beautiful color. And there's really nothing exact here. There isn't. I mean, you can use any variety of vegetables that you'd like to use. Anything that your family enjoys, you can put that in. As long as you follow just the very basics of this, you will be fine. Now we're going to add some wine, and I have a red wine here. Now, as I poured it, the Pinot here, I have just like that much left. So I will tell you, if I was fixing this at dinner time, I would be drinking the rest of it. However, it's like 9 o'clock in the morning, so I think I'm better served to pour it right into here. What do you think? We're gonna let this come up to a little bit of a boil. Starting to boil. Now I'm going to sprinkle in some flour. I'd say probably a half a cup. You see how nicely that's thickening already? All right, now we're ready to really incorporate everything here. So our beautiful mixture is going to go right into our slow cooker. And I want every bit of that, because it's all amazing flavor. Now we're going to add our meat, and be sure when you add your meat, be sure that you have the drippings, because see how many drippings are in there? Can you see that? We want those drippings because that's just all flavor. Well, take a look at this, will you? It is looking exactly as it should. It is perfect. It is going to be flavorful and delicious. So now we're ready for our finishing touches. I have got celery. I don't know, maybe 3-4 stalks. I have carrots, the baby carrots, because I love them. I have new potatoes, but if you want to use Idaho's or golden or whatever you want to use, that's fine. You don't have to use new potatoes. It's just that I had these and I thought that they would be really, really nice. Now to this, I'm going to add 2 cups of beef broth. Okay, and we're going to give that a nice little stir. Oh, look at that. My goodness, that looks really good. We have enough liquid in there that we're going to not have any problems. But I will check it to see if during the cooking time, if it does need a little bit more liquid, I'm going to give it a little bit more liquid. Now I'm going to add some of the thyme that we got out of the garden, just a few sprigs. And I'm going to put in a little bit of this too. And this is better than bullion, roasted garlic base. It's just a really, really nice base here. And I love the additional flavor that it gives. So we're gonna mix all of that in. And I have left all of my seasoning out here, because when I put the vegetables in, I didn't add any more seasoning because our meat, our flour, the onions were so well seasoned but I left it out just in case as halfway through the cooking time, I taste it and I think, well, it needs a little bit more of any of these, I can add them then. But you don't want to have too much of the seasonings in there at this point. Oh my gosh, you guys, this looks fantastic. All right, so for all intent and purposes, we are done. I'm going to put a lid on this, and if you want to cook it on high, go for about 4 hours. If you're going to cook it on low, it can be 8 to 10 hours. But I would caution you halfway through either of those cooking times, get in there and look. Just make sure you have enough beef broth in there, and it's going to thicken perfectly fine on its own. I will guarantee that. But you want to be sure that it doesn't just run totally out of liquid. So with that being said, I will be back in, I'm going to let this cook long. I'll be back in probably 8 hours, and our dinner is finished. Now you can serve this with mashed potatoes. You can serve it with rice, you can serve it with noodles, you can serve it with whatever you want. I personally like noodles. Cameraman likes rice and potatoes, but the potatoes are already in this one, so I wouldn't add more potatoes. So with that being said, I will be back when it's done and we're ready to eat. So as I was telling you, I was going to be gone for a few hours, and then I went over and I opened up my refrigerator vegetable drawer. I forgot mushrooms, and we love mushrooms. So I'm just going to add those right now. They were huge. These great big ones like that, I just cut them in half. And we're going to add those because they will be a wonderful addition. There. Now we can mix these little guys up. Everybody gets a little bit of moisture. Doesn't that look good?
Oh, that looks great.
Okay. There. Perfecto. And don't you love it when you have dinner done and it's like 9:30 in the morning? I love that. Okay, now I really will be gone for a few hours. Bye. Perfect. Are done. It's been several hours, and this has been an amazing process simply because it smells so good, and I have tasted it in between. Now I did add a little bit more of the beef broth while it was cooking, about another, I think, half a cup is what I added. But come here and take a look at it. Just look at that. Now, all of this wonderful vegetables and all of this beef is in there. Now what I did do, and I didn't show you, is I thickened the sauce just a little bit. And the way I did that is I took a tablespoon of flour and about maybe a cup of water, mixed it up really, really good so there were no lumps, dumped it in. That's all I did. And it thickened it just nicely. So I think it's time for a taste test. So we're going to make sure we get some of that beautiful meat, some of these wonderful potatoes and mushrooms and carrots. Onions have probably dissolved in here already. There. All right. How does that look to you? Because to me, it looks delicious. It really does. So I'm going to take a taste test, and this bowl is for cameraman. He gets a big bowl because he did such a good job filming this. Now, and as I'm going to let this cool down for just a half a second here, I want you to look at our dessert. And those are blueberry muffins made from scratch, and that's going to be our dessert. Now that recipe is already posted, so you'll be able to go and take a look and make your own dessert. All right, enough said. Let's take a little bit of taste of what this might be like. Oh, the carrot has a little bit of crunch to it yet, which I love. It's really good, you guys. I mean, it's really, really good. The carrot does have a little bit of crunch, but it's cooked. It just has that little tiny bit of al dente to it, which I love. So with that being said, I hope you'll try it. I hope you'll enjoy it. The ingredients are listed below. Thumbs up, and please subscribe, and please leave me a comment. I would love to know that it's snowing like crazy out there and you made this for your family and everybody loved it. So with that being said, check on our next video. It'll be out. We're putting one out almost every day now and making all kinds of wonderful things. So thank you. Have a wonderful evening, and we are going to enjoy dinner. Bye.